Hi, I'm George Cooper, and I'm the founder of eGloo. And I'd like to talk to you a little bit today about what it is I'm building and what my vision is for that, the process that I'm going through in order to realize that vision and that product, and the part that I hope all of you will play in that. So, what this is first is this is a daily stand up. For anyone in the software industry, you'll be familiar with that idea. This is a solo effort, so I'm trying to do this as a way of anchoring myself to a normal workday and accountability. But also, I think there's value, as you'll see, as I describe what I'm trying to do. I think there's value in the transparency that these updates provide. And also, I think it would be good for me too to sort of learn how to have a voice to speak on this platform and to speak to people a little bit better. So, yeah, I'll start with the what because I think the what I'm building is a lot easier to initially take in. And the short version of that is it's a social media marketplace. And what I mean by that is uh, existing social networks, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, even YouTube. They all rely on a few basic principles. The first is that they are free to use primarily, but they are free for the consumer to use. They are not, in a sense, a nonprofit organizations or open source or free. What they really are, as many know, I'm sure, especially anyone probably watching this early on, they are really data farms. They suck in data, and then they repackage that data to sell to whether it be advertising or targeting firms or data enrichment firms. But that data, that's what has value, right? So, and it's important to really understand that because the crux of what I'm trying to do is to not go down that path. It's to invert that because I think what that's done is profoundly damaging to society. So, yeah, when you're on Facebook or Instagram or any of these existing sites, they are monitoring you, they are logging your data, they are taking that data in, they are enriching it, they are building machine learning models, they're building user segments based upon your habits. So they know, what demographic you're in, they know what your income is, they know your political affiliation, depending upon how much you use the sites. And then they, essentially allow advertisers to target against that. In some cases, they even sell access to the data. And it's not limited just to your use of those platforms, of course. It's if you follow Facebook at all, you'll realize that they are pretty aggressive about finding other technologies that they can embed with. Um, so, what I'm trying to do is fix that model. That model has, in my view, created a problem in society where essentially all discourse has become some degree of entertainment, and without any filter on how you consume that entertainment, or what it's doing to the way that we think, not just individually, but as a collective, as a human society. It's really changing us, and not for the better. Um, it's weakened our institutions. It's weakened our faculties. It's driven us to a very dark place in human history, which is a shame because the underlying technology, the idea of connecting the entire world, is really a great one. But it matters how the platform incentivizes behavior. Otherwise, you end up with a situation where uh, currently it's outrage culture, but really what it is it's shock and emotion driven. It's clickbait. It's trying to drive you in to engage, right? A click, a view. These are the metrics that the advertisers care about. And I speak about this because I've worked in ad tech, not for one of those platforms, but I mean I've seen how the sausage is made, um, and it's questionable. It's dubious, and I don't particularly think that that's the way that we should be running things. So the other aspect of it is trust. These platforms, they're not really they're not transparent. They're not democratically governed in any sense, and in a lot of cases, as much as they connect the world, so to speak, they are really just a wall garden. It's a digital authoritarianism, spearheaded and masted by whoever happens to be the CEO or the C-suite executives of those companies. So, and what that leads to ultimately is no trust in the process by which user feedback is taken in. Just partially because you can't see into the inner workings of these businesses, but also because, frankly, they've done a lot to erode that trust. They have really done that to themselves. So, what I'm building, it's called eGloo. It is a social media marketplace. It's more than a social network. It is meant to be an online nation, and I mean that in every sense of the word. I think that this technology it enables us to disrupt the very core of how we organize societies. And if used for good and with buy-in from people, with a democratic process, with open transparency into how it evolves, I really do think that we could stand a chance against some of these larger global problems that are staring us down in the near term. So, talking about some specifics, right? So, I'm not trying to build something that changes human nature. Very much like the founders of the United States, I want to accept human nature for what it is, and I want to build tools that acknowledge that and try to work in a way to make the best possible result given all of our failings as individuals. And I'm certainly as fallible as a human as anyone. So it's I try to be honest about that, and I think we all need to look at ourselves as a piece of a whole, and that's what a society is, and that's what this platform is trying to do, is trying to be a better society, a better online society. So the core of it is, first of all, this is going to be an open source platform. From day one. The code is actually, as I record this, already on GitHub, with no no real traction yet because this is day one. But it's important to me that the code be open sourced for two reasons. One is I never want people to have to take my word that I'm not taking their data. I want that to be clear up front. I want that to be something that is inspectable by anyone who is curious and interested. So that's important, and it's not just open sourced; it's AGPL'd 3. So if somebody takes that code and then they run a platform, they are legally obligated to also release that code, even if they don't distribute it, because network access is considered distribution. And the other thing that does, though, is it gives users and developers the ability to actually participate in changes to the site. It becomes more like the Linux system than, let's say, a more closed system like Windows or OS 10. So the benefits of that are, developers can actually submit features that they want to change the site, and users can submit feature requests. And the way that I want to structure this is so that users vote on the features that they want, yes or no, and then the developers can submit pull requests or code to meet those features. And if the quality of the code is sufficient and the users all agree that they want that feature, then I'm not even involved in the process. It becomes a feature. And I think that's really important, to actually have democratic say in the process. Another aspect of this is, as I said, there will be no data collection. We will do storage of data. It will be encrypted at rest. I will make it clear to users what is queryable in the DB and what is not. If there's messages that you want private, they will be encrypted using keys on your device and only your device. But if they're stored in an open text because they're just public posts or what have you, or you want them searchable, that'll also be made clear to you. So full user control there, but we will not be mining that data or selling it or selling access to it, which gets to the other thing is there will be no ads. This will not be an ad-driven platform. Now, other open source social networks have tried to approach this by having federated social networks, which is to say that you spin up a node on your machine and it joins the collective, sort of like BitTorrent, or if you're old enough, LimeWire. Some of these technologies, these peer-to-peer technologies. But the biggest problem that I see with that is the ability to have any kind of real adoption. Most people, if you think about the long tail of users, very few of them are going to have the means or the desire to set up a node and host in any, no matter how packaged fashion, a node in a distributed social network. I think that's highly unlikely to succeed. So the compromise is it's a centralized, hosted, open source platform with user contributions and voting, and ultimately, some accountability from that point of view. Now the question of how do you pay for the hosting? How do you pay for the company time, and what sort of backs that? And it's an important question, and it gets to the core of a lot of the mechanics of this system. So without beating around the bush, it will be a pay-for site, but very different than you're probably thinking. So the minimum cost just to start, and I want to say it up front, my plan is to eventually, once the network hits a certain scale, use some of the revenue to subsidize lower income users who can't afford any amount per month. This should be a truly global institution done right, which means that we need to find ways of getting people on who can legitimately show that they can't afford it, and we try to help them as much as we can. So, but yeah, it'll be $1.99 a month to start. Until we hit a certain mass where the numbers start to make it a little bit easier to, lower that for some, and we'll have, beta periods for that. But $1.99 a month, and that just gets you, your account. You'll be able to have certain kinds of engagements and interactivity. You'll be able to see posts, but core to a lot of how I see social media working now is this idea of they've optimized for engagement. They have optimized to get you addicted as if it were a drug, so that you're constantly opening your phone, looking for the next hit of outrage or excitement or stimulus of some kind, and you interact with it, and that interaction drives ad dollars. So there's a lot to unpack there, but the core of it is I am not interested in maximizing engagement in that fashion. What I am interested in is maximizing valuable contributions to the platform, and that means that there needs to be some sort of mechanism, some built-in valuation of those interactions, and that is literally an economy, right? So The idea is that on top of the $1.99 a month, you buy virtual currency. I'm playing with the amounts. It could be as small as $2 or as much as $8 to start. The conversion rate is the same, and I'll get to that in a second. But the base idea here is that you are going to put dollars in, get virtual currency, and when you interact with the site, most of the engagement with other users will cost about 1 penny. Okay. Now, there's probably a natural recoil there. I don't like that idea. It's why am I paying for something that's free other places? What possibly could this be? How could this be good for me? You're already charging $1.99 a month. I get all that. So just hear me out, and I think you'll see my reasoning. So that 1 cent, it doesn't just go to me, the company, or whatever. Where that goes is, first, let's say I make a post. Let's say I post something. I post a video or I post an image. That costs a penny, right? Now, when somebody likes that post or comments on that post, that also costs a penny for them. But what happens is half of that penny goes to the person who made the original post, right? So basically we take half of it. That's used for funding the business and helping grow that so that we can hire more engineers, get better resources, do R&D. In theory, we'll be able to have the ability to make more cool tools if the market approves of this tool. So, but that other half a penny, that goes to the poster, that just gets pocketed. And so essentially what that means is that if I make a post and 2 people like it, it didn't cost me a penny, it was free. And more importantly, if a third person likes it or comments, I just made money. So the system is set up in such a way that content that users are willing to engage with makes the content producer money immediately. You don't have to go talk to a brand. You don't have to spend 5 minutes repping a product. You don't have to have an OnlyFans account where it's $20 a month and you're only getting a certain subset of users. It's everyone. It's everyone. And a penny is, it's just such a small amount. And I realize that maybe even that small amount is a lot to some. But you got to start somewhere, and I'm sort of working with that as the starting point, right? So now the other cool thing about this is one of the biggest issues with a lot of these social networks is, frankly, nasty behavior. Facebook's bad, but Twitter is, horrendous. You sort of have this. It's a cost-free way of just being vicious to each other. It's anonymous in some sense, or it's not anonymous, but people feel detached because it's the screen, what have you. And I think that's a really. I think that's done tremendous harm to our society, to our minds, to our collective hive mind, if you will. I think it's bad. I think across the board, there's nothing that can be said that's good about that. And so, why does this penny make sense in that case? Well, it makes sense in this way. If somebody makes a post and somebody wants to make a vicious comment on that post as opposed to making a positive or a constructive comment, I mean, it can be criticism, right? But just nastiness, just that vitriol, that trolling behavior. If they are content with if they're intent on making that comment, well, now they've just paid the person. we've introduced friction into the trolling dynamic, friction that couldn't exist in any other way, because trolls they thrive on being hated. They thrive on the outrage. They thrive on the infamy, but they don't thrive on spending their own money to pay the targets of their abuse. Right? That doesn't make sense in the troll psychology. And so effectively what has happened is we've created a speed bump. Not a roadblock, not a brick wall, but a speed bump to bad behavior. And I think that's tremendously important. There's a couple other elements to the system. This is already running about 20 minutes, and it's supposed to be a stand-up, but I did want this one to run a little bit longer so that people could get a better sense of, what this is doing, what I'm trying to fix, what I see the problems as. But let me just finish up with a few more features, and then I'll talk about the development process that I'm going down and what you can expect from me in terms of updates related to this. So other features. One type of use case that I think is interesting is the idea of getting feedback anonymously about content that you've posted. And what I mean by that is, people, and I'm guilty of this too, I think we're all guilty of it, right? We get into our own heads and we make posts and we don't really necessarily put ourselves in the seat of the person seeing that post and understanding the impact that it's having on them. Now, yeah, to some degree, I think the penny helps there, but I think the penny is not quite as much of a speed bump for that because you're expressing yourself, right? You're not engaging with someone. You're expressing yourself to the world. You have a thought and you want to get it out there. You have a video or an image, right? But the other important thing is that a lot of times people don't want to give that feedback in a way that ties it to them. And they don't even want to give that feedback in a way that ties it to a number of people that contributed. They don't want to have it be like there's only one person who ever, engages with this kind of content. Maybe there is, but maybe they don't want you knowing that, right? So eGloo really started. The name, was electronic glue. It was the glue that binds us, right? But I also think of it as emotional glue. And what I mean by that is, like, if I make a post and that post makes people happy, it would be really cool for people to be able to, for free. This is not a metered engagement, for free, be able to react to that. So they can, I am working on the UX for it. It could be a swipe left, it could be a swipe right, it could be a literal pop up with, pick your emotion or your color. I don't know. Still hashing that out. But the idea there is that a user can react to the post in a very honest way. It made me, here's a subset of emotions. It was happy, anger, fear, love, sadness, whatever, the full spectrum of human experience, right, is at your disposal there. But it doesn't get publicly seen. Nobody can see, who is not the original poster, what the overall sentiment of the post is. So the poster themselves is not in any way shamed, right? Maybe they're fine with that. Maybe they're just posting complete, hate, not hate. Maybe they get a rise out of scaring people a little bit, and that's fine with them. But they don't impact their engagement. It's a marketplace, right? So people have to think these things through a little bit differently because it's not free anymore. It's not expensive, but it's not free. But maybe they just want to know, what? Nobody liked this post, but people really, really liked it. It made them happy, right? And I think that and they won't see a number. They won't see it made 5 people happy. They'll just say most people it made happy, something like that. Or some people it made sad. Most people it made hungry. I don't know, right? But the idea there is that there needs to be a safe way to get generalized feedback about the content you're putting out there. Safe for the poster and safe for the people that are giving that feedback. Not everybody wants to be a public critic. So I think that's really important. There's a lot of other cool features. Some really big ones that I'd love to talk about here, but this is running over a little bit, and I don't want to overwhelm people who are just seeing this. So I'll just go through like what this process is. So just to give some context, this is day one for me. I saved up a small runway, about 3 to 4 months, where I can focus on this entirely. The quarantine has made it so that I have no choice but to be highly focused on something, and so I've originally, like 15 years ago, I tried to do a social networking site before Facebook became Facebook, and frankly, I failed. It was me and a bunch of friends, and we were all kids by any measure. Particularly looking back 15 years, we were kids. We didn't know what we didn't know, and but I never really lost that hunger for that, and we really had this idea of combining gameplay, like characters and XP and leveling up and rewards, with social media, and we had that back in 2006, 2005, 2006. But we also thought about the idea of influencers. We called them trendsetters. But the whole idea here is that you want to have a bedrock of filtering good content, right? Finding a way to incentivize good content, to reward good content immediately, without in any way forcing content creators into the hands of advertisers and data collectors. One other thing, influencers on our site, following someone costs 1 penny a month. So if I follow 100 people, it costs me $1 a month. But that's okay. It's okay because you want to only follow the people you really want to support, right? And so, but the flip side of this is, if you're an influencer and you get 500,000 followers, you are now banking considerable money every month just by having people follow you. And that's not including the engagement from posts, from comments, right? There's a huge incentive here. But back to, so I've never lost the hunger for social media. It's something that I've always found an interest in. I see a lot of potential once you have a good base of social media networking in place that you can build other cool technologies on. You can shape society for the better as together. You can do that. I really think that there's a lot of potential to the technology, and I feel like what we've seen is a world where I really don't want to dive too deep into any one hot button issue, but I will just say I think we all can collectively agree that things are not trending in good directions. So and I just got tired of being a cog in the system and not being able to really do anything about that. And so this is me saying, all right, maybe I won't get this right, but I'm gonna try. If you like any of what I said, and you want to join up, send an email to beta@eGloo, egloo.com. There's also a Discord channel. I'm going to be posting this video to YouTube, and then I'll have a link to the Discord on YouTube, so you can join there. Like I said, it's all open source. And I'm going to be posting these updates daily, Monday through Friday, and then Saturday I'm going to be doing longer videos, like an hour, where I talk about sort of fundamental theory, like when 15 years ago when my startup failed, I didn't just stop thinking about the problem and then come back to it. A couple days ago, I've spent the last 15 years really deeply thinking about a lot of these issues and sort of how they interact with questions around governance and policy, and knowledge and science, and how we become better people, and artificial intelligence, and all of these things. And I really want to. I want to provide as much context for the design of this system, but I also would like to, for anyone who's interested, and that's why I want to be clear, like there's going to be these shorter updates. This one's longer because it's the first one, but they'll be between, 10, 15 minutes long on a daily basis, Monday through Friday. And then for the people who are interested in a deeper dive into sort of underlying theory, worldview, how I've come around to some of the decisions that I'm making to set this up. And just really for anybody who has any questions too. I can probably take some questions there too. But yeah, so those deeper dives will be recorded on Saturdays. And then just generally speaking, I don't really have a background in video editing. There's something about it that it just doesn't feel authentic to me. I'd rather just record this, post it, have people listen or not. I get that will not capture a broad audience initially, but hopefully the depth makes up for it on a long enough timeline. But the other aspect of it is, frankly, I just don't feel like it's a good use of my time or anyone else's time that could be helping me with other things. I'm an engineer at heart. I'm an architect and an engineer. I want to build this system. I want to help the world. I want to make it better. And if you'll join me, we can do it together. So thank you for listening. And look forward to giving you an update tomorrow. Just one other thing. Yeah, what I'll be working on today. That's what the whole point of a stand-up is. What I'll be working on today is getting a initial splash page that links over to Keycloak, which is a Red Hat provided SSO provider, identity provider, authorization provider kind of package. I've already got the database set up and terraformed, but I just need to get sort of like the front page up that connects you over to that. It's a little bit of React running TypeScript. And then so essentially just getting that existing, login flow, log out, and then just a sort of simple splash page. That's just day one. But things are going to get more exciting and very soon, because this is the only thing I'm working on. All right, so thank you again. Thank you for your time, and check in tomorrow. Thank you.